Hello and welcome. I'm Jenny Hall. Thanks for joining me today for a live video demonstration here on my Facebook business page. The giveaway that will be done on this following Saturday from this video is exclusive only to the Facebook page watchers. So if you're watching the replay on YouTube, then there's already a giveaway that has happened. It's already finished. To find out who won the giveaway, then hop over to my business page, jennystampsup.com, and I'll make sure the winner is announced. I have some great new products to share with you all today, and I'm really excited. We're going to take a look at the Painted Glass Suite, or the Painted Glass Bundle, and that includes the stained glass thinlits dies. And it has, let me get set up here. It has some gorgeous paper that you're really going to like. Good morning, Betty. Thanks for joining me. So before I get started on the Painted Glass excitement, I want to remind you that the Share What You Love suite is going to be available on May 1st to customers. It's available now to demonstrators. And there are 3 different bundles. I have spoken about the bundles. And something to note is when you purchase your Share What You Love bundle in my Stampin' Up online store, you will receive a giant PDF tutorial full of lots of ideas for this particular set of products. So the A Little More bundle is already beginning to go on low inventory. It's these beautiful artisan pearls that are on approaching back order. You can see them here, and they really are fun. They are adhesive backed, and I tell you, I'm using them on so many projects. It's really exciting. So that's just a quick reminder, and if you have any questions, you can leave a comment here, or you can contact me by email, jennystampsup@gmail.com. One thing to remember, when you order your Share What You Love suite, add the In Color collection, because it's 10% off if you get it now, and you'll get all 5 of the In Color stamp pads that are new colors. I've been using them in my videos, and I've got to have all the rest of the stuff for the colors. The code for Gotta Have It All, Betty, is 149526. And with this bundle is the one that you can get the Statement of My Heart stamp set. That stamp set's not available in the other 2 bundles. You can only get it here in this bundle. And there's some free stuff. I mean, the stamp set is free envelopes, and the free embellishment kit. And the little embellishment kit is what everybody's after. That is the really, really hot item. So if you have any questions, then yes, that's the number. You got it, Betty. If you have any questions, just pop them up. And be sure to say hi and where you're from. And if you will like my business page, share this live video, and make a comment, let me know that you shared it, then I will enter you into a giveaway that will be this coming Saturday. And it's going to be the card that I make today. So I hope that you enjoy the process. I'm really excited to share some kind of new techniques with these products. Okay, any Share What You Love suite questions, just toss them up in the air. So let's take another look at these in colors. They are gorgeous. And this is the in colors that are sticking around for 1 more year. So I grabbed the marker pack because it was easy for me to have. And this is Lemon Lime Twist, Tranquil Tide, Powder Pink, Berry Burst, and Fresh Fig. And I think that these colors work very well together. I can see that they complement each other. I can see using the blueberry with the lemon lime twist in a lot of instances. So this is going to be a brilliant and wild color combination. Toss in one of the new purples, and I think that it's just going to be a party on paper. So that's something to think about. But we're going to use, in this project today, 3 of the new in colors. So if you were at On Stage, and maybe even if you weren't, then you've gotten a look at this new stamp set. So the stamp set itself is called Painted Glass, and it has a very gothic look about it. Yes, some people are going to correlate Quasimodo with it, and that's okay. It also has like stained church glass look, and I really like this gothic sentiment style. The font is beautiful, and it's really something different. It's not the typical of what's in stock for all of my stamp sets. So I like this with a very fun twist. In this project today, I'm not going to be adding a sentiment on the outside of the card. It can be stamped on the inside. The questions that I've had that needed to be demonstrated are for the paper that comes with this grouping, with this bundle. So Painted Glass is the name of the stamp set. And let's see a look inside. So it's a red rubber clear mount stamp set, and I really like this. Very beautiful piece of, looks like stained glass. And here are the Thinlits dies. So the Thinlits dies, they do cut these 3 images out here. And then they have all these fun little framelits that can cut out other things. You could use this square and put the little rose inside of it, or any of these items. This is really good for a corner. You can build your own circle out of it too. And there's a big bonus die on the back that looks a lot like one of the pieces of paper that are in the DSP pack. And we're going to have a look at that too. So if you were at On Stage, then you had an opportunity to make this card and realize that there is something really fun about the paper. Hi Sherry, thanks for stopping in. It is a really fun bundle. So the paper pack is called Graceful Glass, and it's actually vellum, but it has a black embossed line on it. And there's many different patterns inside this package. And it's 6x6 paper, and let's see, it's 24 pieces. So this is the big question that I have, that has been put to me, is the paper is beautiful, but what do you do with a very big piece of paper? So we're going to check out some ways to feature that today. This is actually the piece of paper that we're going to be doing. We're going to work on this, and it is gorgeous. Now the vellum is printed on one side, and can you see that it's a bit more muted on this side? This is because this is the flat, smooth side. Hi Paula. And this is the embossed black lines. So the embossed lines are not going to help you keep your markers inside the lines, but they are going to be shiny, and they're going to give that leaded look. And that's what I find really attractive about stained glass windows. I'll have to share a photograph after the video of some of the windows that are at the church that are right next door to our home. As a lot of you know, my husband is a pastor, and he is the pastor of the church that has just had its 175th anniversary. Isn't that amazing? 175 years. So you can imagine that that is a very old building, and that it has some really great architecture, and it does. And the windows are just incredible. So I'll have to post about the windows. So I do have inspiration to draw from in using some of this beautiful paper and on the stamp sets. But the reason I really honed in on this bundle from a lot of the other opportunities from the Premier purchase, which is the advanced purchase of demonstrators, that attend on stage, is the font. The fonts are just wonderful, and they're so different. And you can do a lot of things with them, so I'm coming up with lots of great ideas. And this little bird here, you guys know about me and birds. I just can't resist a bird. So let's start up and get started. I'm not going to be using the dies today. These are stained glass thinlits dies, but I do want to make sure that you got a good look at them. The stamp set I'm going to be using only on the inside of the card because I have a large piece of designer series paper. The question put to me is, how can I use that really large piece without cutting up all of the paper? So what I've done in advance is I have trimmed the paper in half, and then I've trimmed it down to where it's going to fit on a card front. So it's actually, when it's trimmed down to this, what it looks like, it is 5.5 inches tall. That is the actual tall size of a card. Whether you turn it whichever direction is up to you, but this is, when it's trimmed in this manner, this is exactly what it's going to be. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for joining in. Yes, this is a very, very fun suite. So with the embossed side up, I hope you can see the little bit of shiny that's there. Hold it up against the paper, and you can see the white paper come through. And if I turn it over, it is evident to my eyes, but I don't know how well it's going to show up on camera, that black line, the embossing, it's definitely more soft and muted. So if you want to color with markers, which has been the big hot topic, is, do I color with markers? Do I use watercolor? Do I do sponging? What do I do with this? It's so pretty. I'm afraid to use it. Those are the questions that I'm getting. So we're going to demystify some of this. So ahead of time, I went ahead and I colored in with some Stampin' Blends, and I'm going to show you what the project looks like. We're not going to copy this card. We're just going to use it as a little bit of, this is what you can do. It's an alternative. Okay. What do you think? I'm so excited on how this turned out. What I used were the Stampin' Blends alcohol markers for this. And I don't feel like this finished card, and it's not exactly finished, it's almost finished, but I don't feel like this project needs to have a sentiment. I think that it's okay as it is, and any stamping can be done on the inside of the card with no problem whatsoever. So this is one solution on how to use the paper. What I did was I colored on the back side that has no lines. The lines are on this side, and you can feel with your fingers and see that they're a little bit shiny. And I colored on this side. Now you might notice that the color is more vibrant on this side. So could you actually feature this side up on the card so that those lines are right there and very bold? Yes, absolutely, because it's your handmade card and you get to choose exactly how you want to feature the project. However, I do like to see those nice leaded black lines because I like clean lines in my projects. So seeing those black lines come up and having them be slightly raised to the touch is something that appeals to me. So I used almost every Stampin' Blends marker that I have in the full set. There was a lot to color on this. So that's one thing, is if you enjoy sitting down and coloring, then hey, this is a great way for you to use the paper. So you could use any of the different pieces of paper in this manner. And as you can see, this is the full height of a top folding note card. Or if you use a different piece of paper, then you can always turn your card this way or have it, top folding this way. And I don't feel like there's going to be a problem using these beautiful pieces of paper. I think they're gorgeous, and they have a place. They have a place for a card. They have a message that they can convey. This reminds me of so many different things that I don't even want to go into, but this is a really, really gorgeous use of color that I had so much fun coloring. So enough about this one here. We're going to go into this card, and I'm not going to make it exactly the same way. I'm going to change it up just a little bit. But we can use this guy over here. I'll kind of leave it out. We can use it as a reference because I am going to use a little bit of reference for the colors. So the technique I'm going to share is going to be to have a piece of white cardstock, and I have used Whisper White Thick, and I've cut it to the same size as the panel that I'm going to use, and we're going to add some color to this white piece of paper and just a little bit of actual marker work on the back of this, and we're going to see what the results look like. So what I'm expecting is to have a nice intense color that's going to show through the actual lines, pardon me, and it's going to give a different look than this. One thing that I do not like about using the Stampin' Blends markers on vellum is that it leaves streak marks. Hi, Anne-Marie. Thanks for stopping in. And when those streak marks come on, it's not something you can take out. And even when blending colors, as you can see here that I did a color gradation, it doesn't matter. Vellum is going to show all those marker strokes. So how do we overcome this? Well, that's why I came up with the idea of bringing the color here and then keeping the color simple on the actual vellum. So I'm going to start off with using a few of these markers. This is the 2017 to 19 in colors. And I'm going to turn the page over. This is the embossed side, and this is the side that the black line is a little more subtle and less obvious. So the only things that I'm actually going to color are going to be the butterflies and the flowers. And I can make very quick work out of that and not have too much fuss. So I'm going to make my flowers probably pink, and then use some colors on the butterfly as well. Now you could get out your markers and use any markers in any color that you like. This is a great opportunity to share your vision of what color is. Now I'm going to get a lot of those same brush marks when I use the Stampin' Right markers. The difference that I have found with the Stampin' Right and the Stampin' Blends is that the Stampin' Blends have alcohol in them, and so they are going to dry back much more fast. And I'm going to probably blend that out there. It can be a little bit more tedious whenever you color such a large piece, but we'll just take it one piece, one little object at a time, and that way it won't be so overwhelming. If you have any questions along the way, then please feel free to pop those questions out. So I'm going to use this color to come back the other direction and then blend those. So the butterflies are going to be really vibrant. And the butterflies I chose to make blue in this other project here. So does anybody want to share what their experience is with coloring on vellum? I would love to hear and see you share with the other people that are watching, and we can maybe come up with some great ideas together. I like the brush tip of this marker, that way I can push it up in between all of those little tiny circles. And this is going to take a few minutes to dry, so that's why I'm doing this portion first before I'm doing the background. So let's flip it over and see what it looks like. I can still see some of those brush strokes, which is okay. This is a handmade card after all, so we don't want it to look as if we didn't actually put our loving hands to work. I'm going to color this butterfly in exactly the same way. I'm going to try to color him the same way. If you guys hear some voices in the background, that is my son Nate, who is home from school today. He lost his first tooth and he got a little bit of a bump on the eye, so he's not really feeling so great. So we gave him a pass today. Let him stay home. I'm sure he'll pop in sooner rather than later to say hi. And these are the same colors that I used. And because these markers working on vellum, they're not going to dry quickly, it's because of the vellum. Normally the Stampin' Write markers are very quick to dry on paper, on cardstock in particular, but they're not as quick to dry on vellum. Nothing is. But the Stampin' Blends have alcohol, and so that helps them dry back faster. They dry almost a little too fast. So if you want time to really get a nice little blend, then Stampin' Blends are maybe not the road that you want to take. But it does make a quick project. Betty's asking, do the brush strokes blend out on the vellum? With the Stampin' Write markers, they blend out a little bit more than they do with the Stampin' Blends. The Stampin' Blends, I'll put this one back up here just for reference. You can see, maybe you can see on this side a little better, where I blended the colors together. And I think I used 2 or 3, or maybe 3 or 4 of from yellows to oranges. And there's the more color that you put on, it makes more fluid on the vellum. And that is where you get a lot of the brush strokes. Now, if I were to put a very, very, very light coating of ink, then I would definitely not get the same kind of brush strokes. It's just kind of like a byproduct. Whenever you work with something, like when I use embossing powder, I know I'm going to get that embossing buddy. The cornstarch is going to go all over my whole work surface. I know that's going to happen. It happens every time. And having the cornstarch is a bit of an irritation to me. So it's kind of like a give and take. I know that it's going to be an irritation, so I'm going to avoid it if I can. These may not be the typical colors that I would use on a flower, but I want to be able to show you here that I'm going to give a little bit of a blend. With the Tranquil Tide, we're going to see if we can get those blended strokes. These do blend better. I have found, in my opinion, that I like to see Stampin' Write. These are the die markers, and I can do it in a couple of different ways. I can just add a little bit of color here. And then I'll be able to go back with the other marker. And then I can kind of move it around. So do you see how it brought the color up? But it's still, I've got brush marks. I've got brush strokes. So I don't really find that there's any way to avoid that. I've got a little scratch paper here so that I can make sure I clean that back off of my marker. So the way I do it is I find where the two colors meet and I blend them together. I get clean off the end of my marker and then push the lighter color back in. So I get a blend and I get that same color gradation at the same time. Hi, Sharon. So I'm going to do that to the other ones that are already colored, that are already started being colored. And then the vellum is preventing the color from soaking in. That's the only thing. If this was on cardstock, I could not make this happen. So I'll mix it together, clean it off, and then push it back. So if you have any questions, please be sure to pop them in the comments. I'm happy to answer anything I can. And I already covered using Stampin' Blends versus using Stampin' Write. Stampin' Blends are created from an alcohol ink, and Stampin' Write is just the regular dye ink, water-based, that we use in our stamp pads. It's the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to now go and make that little blend. Lighten it up, clean my marker, and then push some of it back to get that color gradation. So I am getting some marker strokes, Betty. It is really, I don't know how to not. By making these long strokes to push the color back in, that's actually taking some of those streaks out. But in the finished project, I don't think that the streak marks take away from anything. I think that they are just fine. Okay, I'm going to leave those. I want to get one black marker. I have a journaling pen here. I do have a black Stampin' Write marker, but this one's handy. So the journaling pen is, I believe, a different formula, and it does have a little bit of the stroke marks. Have a good day, Betty. Thanks for stopping in. Be safe out there. So I'm just filling in the body of the butterflies. Now this is going to take a few minutes to dry. So I'm going to set it aside, and let's take a look at the reverse. So I don't see as many stroke marks with the Stampin' Write markers as I did with the Stampin' Blends markers. Now granted, a smaller area is not going to have as many stroke marks that will show, and so that's one great reason. Now could you stop here and just feature this on a card? Absolutely. This is what it would look like on a card, and there's nothing wrong with that. It looks nice. But let's bring it to life and really get it moving. So I'm going to clear some space here. Thanks, Betty. She's saying that it looks nice enough that the strokes don't matter. I appreciate that. When I colored it, I knew what I wanted it to look like, and filling in all these little tiny areas in between, making sure that I didn't touch one color to the next and bleed it all together, that can be a little bit tedious. And for some people, it makes them completely stay away from working on something in particular. So that's the big thing that I want to demystify by sharing this, this technique. Okay, so this piece of paper is cut to exactly the same size as this, and it will just lay behind it. And we are going to make this just glow, absolutely glow. I'm going to start with my lightest color, and that's Pineapple Punch. This is the new yellow that's in the 2018 in colors. First time I put my hand in this ink pad, so it's been christened. Hi, Evelyn. So glad you could join. So if you guys didn't hear yet, then I'm going to be giving away the card that I'm creating today. And to be entered in the giveaway, I would like for you to make a comment on this video saying that you shared it, to share the video on your Facebook page, and to like my Facebook business page. Very simple. And then on Saturday, I will have my kids be able to actually draw. They're going to draw the winner. Kathy was the last week's winner. And Kathy's watching today. And your cards are on the way to you. So I sent Kathy the full set of 5 cards from last week. So right now I'm using a sponge dauber, and this is called the technique ink blending. And ink blending can be done different ways. First, I bring some ink onto my dauber, and then I tap it on scratch paper just to make sure that I get off that big, huge amount that usually will stain in one spot that it touches first. Hi, Arlene. Thank you for sharing the video. Thanks, Anne-Marie. So I'm going to use 3 of the in colors to get my color blend. And I like to be able to saturate this paper with as much color as possible. And there's different blends that happen on different types of paper. And this is thick Whisper White. So I'm going to bring as much of that color as I can before I move on to the next color. Normally I would just very lightly be touching the paper and get a very light blend, but because I want this to blaze off the paper, then I'm really giving some nice bit of pressure. Now I will probably come back to using this one again. I have to make sure I click the new stamp pads absolutely closed because they are brand new and the plastic sometimes resists me closing it. So I like to make sure that I close it all the way. So we're going to do the Grapefruit Grove right in the middle, and then we'll use Lovely Lipstick at the bottom, and then we'll blend them all back in together. So I'm going to add the color here in the middle of the page. And I'm going to make sure that I work it in a nice, even blended way up into the yellow. And we'll do our blend on this paper just like we did on the back of the vellum. You know, we're adding light, and then we're adding dark, and then we can go back in and blend those together. I don't want it to be as much Lovely Lipstick at the bottom as there could possibly be, so I've got a little something on the paper here. Well, I'm not going to worry about that. It must be like a piece of plastic. Something has caused the paper to resist the ink in one little spot. Isn't that something? And I'm going to just keep at this and get that ink nice and dark. And then work it in to the yellow. And this is the part where if I'm blending 2 colors together, I don't need to add so much ink. I can use the ink that's already on my dauber and the ink that is sitting inside of the paper. So try to work in circles, just to kind of give me that even look. And I'm not going to bring my dauber all the way up because I want to maintain the integrity of some of that yellow. I want the yellow to stay yellow at the very top. That's the Pineapple Punch. And now I'm going to bring it down a little bit. So how about if we do a little quick peek and see what it's going to look like through. So it's not going to show through as brightly as the other card, but it is going to show through. This is one way to go about using the vellum paper. There's so many different ways. None of it's wrong and none of it's right. It's up to you. You're the one in charge. All right, so now we're going to bring the lovely lipstick. And if anybody has questions along the way, then please feel free to ask questions. This one is a very, very, very vibrant color. So are you guys working with these colors yet? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Look how quickly the paper is soaking up that lovely lipstick. Wow. I'm going to turn it sideways since I'm getting to the bottom. Might be easier for me to get a good hold on it. Thanks, Arlene. I'm glad you like it. So I want the bottom to really be very intense. And now I'm going to start working my way back up as we did with the yellow, but now I'm working up with the red. Now I don't need to add as much pressure whenever I'm doing the blend in from one color to another, because I'm using the ink that's already on my dauber and working with the ink that is already on the paper. So that's starting to get a nice blend. I'm going to have to use a little more ink though, right here, and then bring it up. And then we'll end up pushing some of it back a little bit more. Isn't this just, wow, look at those colors. Hi, Margaret. Thanks for joining, and thank you for sharing. Okay, so now that I've got my nice intense red, I'm going to work it back a little bit with this orange. Grapefruit Grove. I'm clicking. See, now this guy here wants to stop, but I have to push it really hard. So please be careful on your new styled ink pads. I discovered that I had left that lovely lipstick to where it was open just a teeny tiny bit, but I caught it quick enough to where it really didn't make it dry out. All right, so we're gonna go back this way now. And be careful if you do put your fingers on your paper that you might get a little ink on there. So I'm intensifying the Grapefruit Grove and working it back over the red, where I've blended the red and the grapefruit together. And that's almost a solid gradation there. That looks nice. A bit more Grapefruit Grove here. Hi, Pam. How are you? This is a gorgeous suite. Yes, Margaret, I'm loving it. This is my first time to share any projects with it. I've created some other projects, but I haven't shared them yet on my blog. Okay, so this is one solid block of ink color versus the stroke marks that we have on this card here. So this is the Stampin' Blends version, and this is turned over to the other side. So you can see that this is the side that's embossed. And so now we're trying to emulate a little bit of that color without having to do the tedious work on the back of the vellum. So when I lay it over, I can see some of the color come through, but it's not nearly as intense. Let's see here. This is what it would look like on a card base with the white showing through. So share your opinions and let's get a discussion on what do you guys think. Is this more attractive because the Stampin' Blends is directly on the paper? Or is this more attractive because it's just a subtle look that's behind and it's less work and you don't have to push the marker in between all of those little tiny areas? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. I have my own thoughts too that I want to share with you. This one appeals to me in color, but it doesn't appeal to me with the brush strokes. No matter how I try, I cannot get those Stampin' Blends to not leave the stroke marks. It's just hardly possible if you're going to blend your colors together to get them to have that perfect and absolute blend because you're using wet on vellum. Hi Sarah, thanks for joining in. Anne-Marie, I think I'm with you on this one. But, I mean, this one's not, it's nothing wrong with it. It's just not the same. Pam likes both of them. I think that I like this panel with maybe just putting something else on it instead of this. Because you guys can see how intense this color is. And no matter what, it's just not going to show through as intensely. The personal experience that I have with using vellum is that I cannot avoid having those brush strokes. Now, if it's a smaller area, like on these butterflies here, the brush strokes are not as noticeable. And so working in a smaller area, let's see if we just put it back on white, I almost like this better. Having just these items colored in and maybe coloring in a little bit of this at the top. But I do like this panel maybe to be repurposed on something else. But I will be sending both of these cards for the giveaway. So please like my Facebook business page and share this video and then comment to let me know that you shared. And we will do a drawing on Saturday to be able to have these. Pam tends to gravitate towards the card with the blends, more intense, like a stained glass window. Yes, that's my personal experience. Literally, I can lean out my craft window here in my studio, and if I were to reach across, I could touch the church that's right next to me. And usually right about 4 to 4:15 in the afternoon, this is what I see. This is what I see outside of my windows. I see the sun blazing through the stained glass windows at the church. And I'll be sure to put a picture afterward on my Facebook page so that you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. But this is very, very soft and feminine looking card too. So I could color all of these things just like I did on this version here. And I think it would be okay. So I could flip this over and use this side or this side. And I prefer to see those heavy black lines. Arlene likes the one on the white background. Or are you saying that you like it better on white versus better on this? I think with vellum, we're just kind of, we like to see that intense color, and the vellum is really pretty, but it's going to take wanting to add the color directly to the vellum and then working in a very large area as this is, all of the sunshine colors, it's really not the same. Now I do have one idea that I thought I might try, and I'm not sure how it's going to come out, but are you guys up for a total experiment? This is going to be like just on the fly. Okay, so I have this fine tip glue pen. And I tell you, I better get my silicone craft mat. Oops. And I'm going to coat this with fine tip glue pen. And then I'm going to stick this on top of it and see what happens. Because it's just going to lock the two pieces together. Or do you guys think I shouldn't do it and mess up this beautiful panel? Because I could always make another panel again. Oh, I can just use it the other way. I'm going to open the bottle up and add some glue. Wah! Straight to it. Okay, I'm going to use my finger because I know this is the sure way that I can get a nice even coat. And if I move the glue around too much, then it's going to blend those colors, which I've already blended. So I started at the light end and I'm working my way back here. And I'm going to use a different finger to go back in and make sure I get up to the edge. All right, now we're going to pop this on here and see what happens. Are you guys excited? I'm totally excited. Now, one thing I'm worried about is that it's going to smear the colors that I've already added to the vellum. So I'm going to be very careful. And the paper has started to bow because it's wet with glue. Look at the magic, guys. Look at the magic. Are you excited? Okay. We get all the contact points here. So the pink colors just kind of went away because they can't stand up to the background. And the colors underneath the butterfly are smearing a little bit. But look at the colors that came through the window. So this is definitely going to take a little bit to dry, and I'll have to see if I can work this to where there's no spots that don't have, to where all this looks like bubbles. Get this pushed back everywhere, and I can always trim this piece down. Looks like it's going to stay this way right here. I could pick it back up, but it's going to pull some of the paper because it's already made good contact. So I'm going to leave it like it is. Hi, Allie. How are you? I'm glad you could stop in. Okay, so I'm just going to add more glue here, probably more than I should have. If you guys follow my blog and my YouTube channel, you know that I have a love-hate relationship with liquid glue because it gets everywhere and I have no control over it. It is really crazy. Okay, so let's see what we can do to add this to a project. Now, I do like how all those colors have come through. And this is not wanting to stay down, so we're going to have to do something to train this to stay down. Because there's so much wetness, the glue got everything so wet, then it's going to want to bow. The back of the paper is still more or less dry. I just have some glue stuck here. And I will add this to a card base. Let's go here with this one. Okay, so now opinions. We have this one that was very meticulously colored in, and it has all the colors separated, and then we have the brush strokes. And then now we went through the process here with just adding the Stampin' Write markers versus the Stampin' Blends just to certain areas, and then we added an ink blended panel to the back, and then a whole lot of fine tip glue pen. Hi, Jerem. How you doing, sweetie? And I'd love to hear how you guys like both of these. Which one is your favorite? And I'm going to send both of them out. They're both going to be part of the giveaway. So if you like my Facebook business page, share this live video now and then indicate in a comment that you have shared it. Then I will enter you into a drawing for Saturday. And I do let my kids do the drawing. I put all the names together and then I just let one of the kids, whoever's around. Okay. This one's buckling up just a little bit because I folded when I took the back of the tear and tape off. But I still like all that amazing color coming through. Thanks, Jerem. So one blazing question is attaching vellum to any kind of paper, because it's going to show the whatever your adhesive is. It's going to show through. I might be able to pull this back. No, I don't think so. So these wrinkles are here to stay. So whoever wins the giveaway gets this, both of these projects, but you get it wrinkles and all. Okay, so I kind of relax about adding adhesive to vellum. First off, I know that the vellum needs to attach, so I try to place mini glue dots in as few places as possible, but I want it to stay. I don't want it to come up. I don't want it to peel up. So a little bit of a mini glue dot is okay with me. So I'm going to adhere this on the back, and I'll use, usually I just push it over right onto the strip of mini glue dots. It doesn't always come off on the first time. The other alternative is to use my paper piercing tool and lift the glue dot off of the roll and add it down. But it usually stretches out the glue dot and it doesn't lay as flat. Sometimes it goes on with no trouble. Jerem, you like the one on the left better? Yes, I think that's going to be all of our general consensus. But it was an experiment. Creating this card here was a journey. And it definitely gives us a bit of look at what our options are for using this gorgeous paper. And then what coloring options we have. Okay, I'm going to go back to just putting it straight on the roll because it doesn't stretch out the glue dot, and it helps me to get the vellum to lay more flat. So this is the colored side. You can see that the black lines are more muted, but the color is more vibrant. And this is the embossed side. The color is less vibrant, but those black lines are there. And now it is going to help it a little bit whenever it's mounted on the paper. So I'm going to just add this in here. Being careful because I've got glue all over my hands. And I don't think it needs a sentiment on the outside. I think this is okay. This could be any one of the sentiments that are on the painted glass stamp set. So one way to do that would be to open it up and add the insert, and then first stamp your greeting and then write your message, or you can stamp it here at the bottom. There's lots of different ways that you can use this paper and not be afraid that there's not enough room for sentiment. So that was one of the big burning questions that someone posed to me was, I've got these beautiful panels that I want to use, but I don't have a way that I can use them in small pieces, or what do I do? So that's why I chose this of all the things for this week's live video demonstration, is because I want you to be able to feel confident whenever you choose to use these, that yes, you can feature them in any way. So this one was sliced in half, and then I cut it down to where it would only be 5.5 tall. So we've got some beautiful papers here. I'll go through the pack just so you can see them all. This one here, you can use just one of the panels, or you could trim them down and push them closer together and make it a, what is it called, a triptych. We've got a very small area here that leaves lots of room for a sentiment. This is one of my favorites here, and you could trim this down to any size that you need. This very easily would be a small square, or you can just do, you know, a small area. It's gorgeous. This is nice, and this is a very manageable size. So if you were to turn this into a rectangle and feature 6 of these small units inside, then I don't see a problem with being able to fit them on the card front and leave lots of room for your sentiment. Especially if you're going to turn the card this way into landscape, then that will allow you to have more room like over here on the side. And I've seen one of these colored, and this is absolutely stunning whenever it's colored. Here's another large piece, just like the butterflies. So if you were to take and trim it down to where it would actually fit 5.5, I think there would be room for a sentiment. You'd have to trim it significantly, but there should be room for a small sentiment. So you don't have to use the sentiments that are in this stamp set, although they are pretty great. You can choose to use something very, very small. And oftentimes when I'm doing a technique card, I just want to have a really small sentiment on the front. But this is another gorgeous one here. Here's my #1 favorite, and you know why, because of the birds. And I think I could turn this into probably enough to be 3 different cards. Or fussy cut some of these out and make even more 3 cards. Because this unit here is going to be something you could put, you know, like on a card coming this way, and just use this little ladder unit here. I'll make sure that when I share the pictures of the stained glass windows at the church, that I'll put pictures of my front door as well, because we have the original front door of our house. And we live in a Victorian, and we've got the red and the blue glass that goes around. Let's say that this is my front door. Well, they've got the colored glass that goes all the way through on all sides, and it's very beautiful. It's the original glass for the house. This can be turned into what, gobs of cards. I think you're looking at 7 cards right here. So my point is that we've got so many possibilities with this paper. There's loads of ways that it can be used. Here's another one that's small and has plenty of room. If you just cut one of them, you can use it with a sentiment. You can actually even mount a sentiment right across the middle of it. And then this one here is beautiful. Look at this. Super. It looks just like one of our new embossing folders. So if you have any questions at all, then, yeah, Kathy, I know. I am really digging this one too. But this one was fun to make. And I made it with you guys, and so that makes it even more special. And it'll be interesting to see how it dries back. I think I could improve this by taking some really good care. But because of time constraints for the video presentation, I wanted to make sure I had all the adhesives already on in advance. So when I pulled the adhesive off the back, it kind of stretched things out a little bit. So I could do a better job on this if I were deliberate and created it just on the spot. But I love how the color shines through. It does really make a difference. You could also add a coat of the glue on the top of this, and it'll give it a totally glossy, glassy look. So this could actually be used as, check out how either side of this paper looks. And then we could put just something small, a small object with maybe this rose. with a beautiful sentiment coming from it, and just use this as, you know, on the front of the card. So many different ways to use this beautiful paper that I would recommend that even if you are not really sure about the paper, I think the paper it's going to go on back order. I have a suspicion. I'm not saying I know anything, but I have a suspicion that because this paper is so versatile and so beautiful, that it is likely to go very quickly on back order. So if you like this paper, then I suggest you get a pack or 2 or 3, and that will allow you to be able to use it for any projects that you feel like. The official name of the paper is Graceful Glass, and there are 24 sheets that are in the package. So thank you guys for stopping in to see me today. Continue, even if you're watching the replay, continue to share this live video and indicate in a comment that you have shared it and you've liked my business page. And you can still enter the giveaway because today is Wednesday, and I'll go all the way up until Saturday morning, and then we'll pick a winner. So it'll be 2 cards that are going to be going to somebody, and maybe throw in a little something extra too. So thank you so much for joining me today. Oh, thank you, Anne-Marie. I'm so glad you could stop in again this week. And I appreciate all the shares and all of the likes. It truly does. It means a lot to me. So thank you so much. So if you guys have any questions about something, then please leave it in the comments. And otherwise, if you have a particular technique or a stamp set that you would like to see me demonstrate, leave me a comment here. Even if you're watching on YouTube, then leave me a comment, and I'm happy to add it to my list of topics as I do live videos once a week. So thanks so much today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching the video. See you next time.